It's time to take a look at what's happening around Wyoming for Tuesday, March 3rd. I'm Mac Watson. Despite compromises from all sides, Governor Gordon, Senate leaders, and House leaders all claimed victory on Monday as the Wyoming Legislature passed a $9.9 billion two-year budget. Cowboy State Daily's Claire McFarland reports the budget falls $143 million under the $10.13 billion draft Governor Mark Gordon recommended.
The governor called it a win for Wyoming. It's a $10 billion budget, about $143 million shy of his recommendation. Wyoming public media remains funded, Wyoming public television. And so he was casting as a win. So too was Senator Ogden Driscoll in the state Senate, said, yeah, good job holding the Senate's position. Whereas House Appropriations Chair John Baer was like, yeah, but we still shaved $143 million from the governor's recommendation, so it's a win for us too. University of Wyoming gets their $40 million block grant from the state with a twist. So they have till December 1st to chart out a roadmap showing how they might save $5 million. And the final $10 million of that 40 would be released to them after that point. So yeah, $30 million right out of the gate. The last $10 million of that 40 you can have once you show us a roadmap to savings.
The state Senate voted 28-3 in favor of a compromise draft between its budget negotiators and those from the House of Representatives, while the House voted 59-1 in favor of that same compromise. The 70-year-old Fort Diablo restaurant in Glenrock was gutted by a fire on Sunday. Cowboy State Daily's Greg Johnson spoke to the owner, who says he's not sure if he can rebuild the historic restaurant.
It's a total loss, the fire chief said, even though it didn't burn totally to the ground. Just everything has smoke damage, there's heat damage, and it's just gone. It happened during Sunday's breakfast service. They noticed it, everybody got out. They don't know what caused it. They're still investigating it. The owner, he suspects it might be one of the old pieces of neon that may have sparked the fire, but he's not sure.
Owner Kevin Tate tells Cowboy State Daily that Fort Diablo, known to locals simply as the Fort, has been the go-to place for date nights, family dinners, celebrations, and lunches featuring killer French dip and Reuben sandwiches since the 1950s. A vocal minority in the Wyoming Senate tried and failed Monday to resurrect a housing bill linked to the CheckGate scandal. Cowboy State Daily's Claire McFarland reports that Senate President Bo Biteman said the bill was tainted.
Prodded by some senators who wanted to resurrect House Bill 141, Senate President Bo Biteman said, sure, I will make a movement to suspend the rules to resurrect this, but I'm not voting for that because this bill is tainted. The reason he said that is because it's at the heart of now two bribery investigations, one by a House committee, one by Laramie County Sheriff Brian Kozak. So President Biteman was like, look, I pushed for this policy in the past. And he lamented that because of the controversy, senators who favor that policy have to choose between, voting against the bill because of the controversy, but betraying their policy conscience in the meantime.
There was no rule against the act itself at the time, though the House, Senate, and governor have all responded by banning the exchange of campaign contributions in the Capitol. Representative Chris Knapp's effort to repeal Wyoming's carbon capture mandate failed on Monday, as it was the final day for bills to advance out of committee. Cowboy State Daily's David Madison reports that the bill's death extends the debate over whether carbon capture helps or hurts Wyoming's coal industry.
Chris Knapp, a Republican from Gillette, he says it's a yoke around the coal industry. And given all of the enthusiastic moves that the Trump administration has done, that this legislature has done, let's get rid of this last yoke. Let's get rid of this requirement on carbon capture. It's been the subject of vigorous debate, but it has moved through the legislature this year. And Knapp, at the beginning of the hearing this afternoon, said he hopes this is when it finally will get over the hump. Well, it didn't get over the hump. There was no vote. It simply ran out of time.
House Bill 56, which would have repealed the reliable and dispatchable low-carbon energy standards created by House Bill 200 in 2020, died after the hearing ran out of time on the final day for legislation to advance out of committee. I'll be back with more news from Cowboy State Daily right after this.
Out here, everything takes longer. The miles in between teach patience. They teach you what's worth driving for. In Wyoming, miles are how we measure love. The distance you'll go to help a neighbor, to pick up your kid from an activity, or to visit someone you care about. That's why Hilltop Bank rides with you through every mile. We're not just close by, we're traveling the same roads. Hilltop Bank, member FDIC, equal housing lender.
Cowboy State Daily News continues now. If lawmakers in West Virginia are successful in legalizing fully automatic firearms, Wyoming could follow suit. Cowboy State Daily's Mark Hines reports that experts say they could see Wyoming and Montana adopting similar laws.
They're working on a bill in their legislature that would basically create a new department within their state police department. There'd be a new sub-department through which the state could issue machine guns or fully automatic weapons. The way they're doing this workaround is that the state is issuing you the firearm. You're not going out and buying it yourself.
The West Virginia bill was authored by Gun Owners of America. Johnson County resident Mark Jones, a GOA national director, tells Cowboy State Daily that similar legislation is doable in Wyoming and might be introduced during the 2027 session. Bills making child stalking and grooming standalone felony crimes are headed for the governor's desk. Cowboy State Daily's Jen Coker reports that the legislation came from a high-profile case out of Glenrock.
The first bill, HB 8, originates, kind of the impetus for that was a very nefarious stalking case out of Glenrock in which a 41-year-old woman, Marcy Smith, stalked 2 teens. The other bill adds legislation where there was none before. Prior to this bill, there was no legal recourse for law enforcement to intervene during the grooming process. This now puts a mechanism in place where they can actually charge grooming as a crime.
Both bills easily passed their final hurdle Friday and are heading to Governor Mark Gordon's desk to be signed into law. A 53-year-old Jackson man who drove his SUV about a mile up the Gross Venture River is scheduled to plead guilty to his 5th DUI in 10 years on Tuesday. Cowboy State Daily's Greg Johnson reports that Christopher David Eichhoff almost hit a fisherman before getting his vehicle stuck in the middle of the river.
The retention, this guy's driving his white Chevy Tahoe into the river, driving up the river. The fisherman says he almost ran over him. So he called, reported it. When deputies got there, he was gone. He was up the river about another mile or so, and they hiked up and found him. The report is he failed a series of sobriety tests, even though he claimed that he wasn't drinking any alcohol.
Eichhoff will plead guilty to driving while under the influence in a deal with prosecutors in exchange for the dismissal of a charge of possession of a controlled substance and a recommendation of 2 to 4 years in prison. That's according to a copy of the deal in his court file. After a Powell McDonald's made international headlines last week for banning a farmer who used a drive-thru with a team of horses, the man says the franchise apologized and reversed its ban. Cowboy State Daily's Andrew Rossi reports that team driver Alan Hatch says the support across the state has been staggering.
Several international publications picked up what Hatch was doing and found it interesting enough to make a story out of it. And a lot of Wyoming businesses have reached out to say, we're horse and wagon friendly, so you're encouraged to bring your horses and your wagon downtown to us.
Hatch said he was contacted by a representative of Yellowstone McDonald's and received a personal private apology and was told he and his horses are welcome back anytime. And that's today's news. Get your free digital subscription to Wyoming's only statewide newspaper by hitting that daily newsletter button at cowboystatedaily.com. And you can watch this newscast every day by clicking subscribe on our YouTube channel or listen to us on your favorite podcast app. Thanks for watching. I'm Mac Watson for Cowboy State Daily.